Welcome to today's Deep Dive. I'm your host, and I think we have an absolutely incredible setup for you today.
Hey everyone, I'm your resident expert for this deep dive, and yeah, we are getting into something really special.
So, imagine this. You are utterly alone.
Oh boy.
Days ago, your group joined a desert caravan, but halfway across the dunes, a terrible, blinding sandstorm struck.
The worst case scenario right out of the gate.
Right. And when the howling winds finally died down, the caravan was just gone.
Ooh,
Landscape is completely unrecognizable. You headed east, hoping to find them, but the days just kept passing. Your mounts died. Your water ran out. For 2 agonizing days, you've been wandering under a scorching sun with a parched throat, basically certain that the end is near.
It's bleak.
It is, but then you stumble upon it. Sticking out of the sand are massive, ancient stone blocks.
Yeah.
You climb a dune and look down upon a ruined, forgotten city, half buried in the wasteland. And in the very center of this lost city towers a massive step pyramid, 5 tiers high.
Just looming over everything.
Exactly. The bottom tier is almost swallowed by the sand, but on the very top, 3 giant 30-foot statues loom against the sky.
Such a striking image.
One is a strong, bearded man holding a balance and a lightning bolt. Another is a winged child gripping a wand and a handful of coins. And the third is a beautiful woman holding a sword and a sheaf of wheat.
Right.
You have no food, you have no water. The only shadow, the only hope for survival, lies inside that pyramid.
It sets this incredibly bleak, desperate tone right from the jump.
It really does.
And it's the perfect entry point for today's deep dive. We are looking at a legendary piece of tabletop RPG history today, digging into the blueprints, the encounter notes, and the lore of the classic adventure module, B4: The Lost City.
Specifically, we're exploring the first 2 tiers of this pyramid, which makes up dungeon level 1.
Yeah, and the context of that opening desert scenario completely changes how a party has to approach this module.
How so?
Well, they aren't walking out of a cozy tavern with full hit points and backpacks stuffed with iron rations. They are starving, they're thirsty, and they are exhausted.
Right, the survival aspect.
Exactly. Every single spell slot, every hit point, and every piece of gear is a critical resource now.
Okay, let's unpack this, because simply walking down the hallways of this pyramid is a masterclass in atmospheric tension.
Oh, absolutely.
The architecture itself is oppressive. You're navigating corridors made of massive, smooth, bare stone blocks. The ceilings in the rooms are 15 feet high, and the heavy stone slab doors are constantly trying to swing shut behind you.
And naturally, there is absolutely no light.
0. But the real threat isn't the architecture, is it?
No, not at all. It's the wandering monster table.
Yes. Our sources detail a highly specific ecosystem roaming these upper tiers. We're not talking about your standard dungeon fodder here. We're talking about giant, 3-foot-long cave locusts.
The cave locusts are a brilliant piece of environmental design.
They really are.
They act as this brutal hazard for fragile, low-level explorers. Because they live in this enclosed, dark space, their behavior is hyper-erratic.
Very jumpy.
Literally. If the party startles them, the locusts panic and jump up to 60 feet in a completely random direction.
60 feet?
Yeah, and there is a 50% chance they just launch themselves directly into a player character.
Ouch.
Taking a hit from a 3-foot insect traveling at that speed is a serious physical blow, especially for, say, a wizard who already has low HP from the desert.
And if that isn't bad enough, the secondary effects of the locusts are an absolute nightmare for stealth.
Oh, the shrieking.
Yeah, when they get frightened, they shriek. This horrible echoing noise bouncing off the bare stone walls has a high chance of triggering another wandering monster roll.
Which you do not want.
Never. And if you corner one, it spits a brown goo from 10 feet away.
Gross.
So gross. Any character hit by that goo, or even standing within 5 feet of someone who got hit, is paralyzed by severe nausea for a full minute.
A minute in combat is an eternity.
Right. You can't fight, you can't cast, you're just violently ill until you wash it off. Which is a huge problem
Because you don't have any water to spare.
Exactly.
It creates this cascading failure of survival. You spend your precious water to cure the nausea, which leaves you vulnerable to dehydration later.
It's just punishing.
It is. And the module establishes a living food web here. Where there are giant insects and giant rats, you find apex predators.
The ferrets.
Right, the corridors are stalked by giant ferrets, hunting the rodents, but highly unpredictable and totally willing to ambush a wounded party.
You even have gnomes and goblins wandering the halls, which the module notes have traveled all the way up from a vast subterranean lake deep beneath the city.
Which implies a massive interconnected underworld.
It really opens up the scale of the place. But, the beasts and the goblins aren't even the most unsettling encounters.
Not by a long shot.
We're creeping down a pitch-black corridor, paranoid about giant ferrets, and suddenly you run into the Cenedicians.
Ah,
These are the human descendants of the people who originally built this magnificent city centuries ago.
yeah, and generation after generation have lived out their entire lives underground.
They've physically adapted right, with infravision, bone-white hair, and pale skin.
That's right. But psychologically, they are a deeply tragic, fractured society.
What's fascinating here is how the human element completely subverts your expectations for a dungeon crawl.
The Cenedician society collapsed centuries ago under the weight of this horrific monster cult deep in the lower levels.
Just a terrible history.
Yeah. And to cope with the slow death of their civilization, the remaining survivors retreated into a perpetual dream state.
They wander the halls wearing brightly colored robes and these elaborate, stylized masks.
Some made of wood, some papier-mâché.
Right, shaped like animal or human faces.
The roleplay potential there is just wild.
Imagine it. A party might be preparing for an ambush, weapons drawn, and a group of Cenedicians wearing vulture masks just wanders past, completely ignoring the heavily armed players.
Just acting out a bizarre, hallucinatory play from a forgotten era.
It shifts the tone from a standard hack and slash to something incredibly surreal and haunting.
It demands a completely different skill set from the players.
How so?
Well, if you just attack everything that moves, you're going to waste resources slaughtering unarmed, hallucinating people.
Which doesn't help you survive.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But if you try to communicate, you have to navigate their delusions to extract any useful information about the dungeon layout.
Which brings us to the layout of the pyramid itself.
Let's get into it.
You find a ramp on the south side leading up to the very highest tier, Tier 1. You're searching for an entrance, and you spot a secret door level with the floor of the top tier.
And immediately the module tells the party exactly what kind of meat grinder they've walked into.
Right, because the heavy stone slab of the secret door is wedged open.
By a corpse.
Extremely grim. It's a hobgoblin, dead for several weeks, with a heavy crossbow bolt sunk deep into its chest.
A great piece of environmental storytelling.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Looking past the body down a dusty 10-foot wide passage, you can see a large, unloaded crossbow sitting in a niche in the opposite wall.
So he triggered it.
He stepped on a hidden pressure plate right inside the door. He triggered the trap, and his corpse is literally the only thing keeping the door from swinging shut and locking the party inside.
That visual serves as a harsh tutorial.
Warning.
Yes, the module is broadcasting, hey, pay attention to the floor, check for pressure plates, and do not assume any room is safe.
Because if you ignore that warning, you are going to have a very short campaign.
Yeah, you are.
I have to say, though, the trap in the very next room borders on cruel.
Oh, room 1.
Yeah, you step past the body into Tier 1, which is a massive 40-foot square room right beneath the roof.
It smells of dust and age.
And dominating the room are 3 huge bronze cylinders, reaching all the way from the floor to the 15-foot ceiling, each with a bronze door at floor level. Let's say a player walks in, and the main door swings shut behind them. Suddenly, there's a faint hiss from small holes in the corners of the room.
The gas trap.
Yes, it's a gas trap, but it's odorless, tasteless, and completely invisible.
The design philosophy behind that trap is famously punitive.
It seems impossible.
Well, unless a character has exceptionally high perception or states they are actively listening, they won't even know the trap is sprung until the room seals and they start taking respiratory damage.
That is terrifying.
It forces immediate, desperate problem solving.
How does a party even survive that? You can't fight gas.
No, you can't. They have to quickly deduce the source and physically jam rags or iron spikes into the tiny holes in the corners.
Or figure out a way to wedge both the inner and outer heavy stone doors open to vent the room.
Exactly. It completely punishes passivity.
And if they survive that panic and decide to just start pulling open the bronze doors on the cylinders,
Oh, it gets worse.
the left one fires 4 darts straight into the character's chest, and the right one triggers a hinged paving stone, dropping the victim straight down a chute to the floor below.
It's an absolute gauntlet.
It is. But here's where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
If the party manages to safely open the bronze doors, they find ladders. Tapping on the cylinders reveals they are hollow.
Okay.
The ladders go down into the pyramid, sure, but they also go up.
Up to the roof.
Yes. If a curious player climbs up, they realize they're climbing inside the hollow legs of those three 30-foot statues on the roof.
The ones we saw from the outside.
Exactly. And inside the heads of those statues, they find speaking tubes and heavy mechanical levers that control the statue's arms and eyes.
Which completely reframes the culture of ancient Sinodicea.
It blew my mind.
Those statues of their gods, Gorm, Ismaguras, and Metarua, they weren't just monuments, they were massive theatrical props.
They were faking miracles.
Yeah. The ancient priests would climb up inside these bronze shells, manipulate the levers to make the statues move, and speak through the tubes so their voices would boom out over the city.
It's basically a cynical dystopian Wizard of Oz setup buried in the sand.
That's a great way to put it.
Once you realize the gods were rigged, you head down the ladders to Tier 2. And this is where the true ecosystem of the pyramid opens up.
It's a labyrinth of about a dozen rooms down there.
And the encounters require totally different tactical approaches. Let's look at room 3.
Okay.
The party opens a secret door and spots a pile of dust sparkling with 4 highly valuable gems.
Enticing.
Very. But the room is occupied by 7 sturges.
Oh, sturges! For a party already bleeding out from a gas trap, 7 sturges is a massive threat.
They are bird-like creatures with tubular beaks, right?
Yeah, that suck blood. The action economy alone is brutal. They swoop down, attach, and automatically drain blood every single round.
Until either they are killed or the character dies.
Right. It creates a very tense risk-reward calculation at the table. Do you spend your limited spell slots and risk a character's life for 4 gems?
Or do you shut the door and walk away?
Because wealth is useless if you bleed to death in a dusty hallway.
Exactly. And then the module throws a complete curveball with room 5.
The Sprite Room.
Yes. The party opens a door to a slightly drier room filled with small crates. Sitting on the crates are 10 sprites. Tiny, winged, chattering merrily in a musical language, completely unbothered by the darkness.
The sprites force the party to completely rethink their engagement rules.
Because if a trigger-happy player attacks them,
The sprites don't fight with traditional weapons.
no, they don't.
They use magical practical jokes. 5 of them will link up and cast curses. A fighter might suddenly find their expensive metal armor turning into a useless pile of rust.
Or a rogue might find their boots permanently glued to the stone floor.
Being super glued to the floor while wandering monsters are rolling on the random encounter table is essentially a death sentence.
It really is. But if the party is smart, holds their fire, and manages to search the crates the sprites are sitting on.
They find the ancient fireworks.
Yes, packed in sawdust. The priests use them for their fake miracles. If they're still dry, the party suddenly has access to smoke, bright lights, and noise.
Which is an incredible tactical asset. You can use those fireworks to blind creatures with infravision, distract a pack of giant ferrets, or signal for help.
It rewards creative thinking over brute force.
It does. But the dungeon is always ready to punish a lack of caution, too.
Oh, definitely. Like in room 8, it looks like just an empty room,
Except the ceiling and walls are covered in green slime.
which is terrifying.
Green slime is a quintessential old-school terror. It drops from the ceiling silently. If it hits a character, it dissolves wood, metal, and flesh in mere moments.
You can't just hit it with a sword.
No, it forces the party to use fire. Burning it away often means burning the character's own armor or sacrificing precious torches and oil.
It's a massive resource tax that teaches players to always look up.
Which they absolutely need to do in Room 9.
Oh, right, the geckos.
Yeah, the ceiling there is crawling with them. Pale blue lizards with orange spots, roughly 5 feet long, specifically designed to drop from the ceiling and ambush parties that only check the floor for pressure plates.
The 3D space of these rooms is constantly used against the explorers.
It sounds like an endless grind, honestly.
It does.
But if we connect this to the bigger picture, the brilliant part of this module's design is how the ecosystem actually provides for the party if they pay attention.
Right. Let's circle back to the core survival mechanic, the lack of water and light.
In Room 4, an abandoned priest's quarters, the party finds another dead hobgoblin. His arm is swollen and discolored from a sting.
But more importantly, on his body is a completely full water bottle.
Finding that after days of tracking dehydration penalties is a massive victory.
It shifts the environment from merely a trap to a provider.
Exactly. And the same goes for room 6 at the base of the ladders. The party encounters 2-foot-long fire beetles.
Yes, they are aggressive, but defeating them yields a biological treasure.
The glowing glands.
Yeah, you can harvest the glowing glands from the beetles' bodies. These glands cast a 10-foot radius of light and will continue to glow for days.
The party is literally harvesting the local fauna to replace their dwindling torch supply.
The ultimate example of this risk and biological reward is Room 7.
Oh, the bee room.
Yeah, you walk in, and there is a huge 10-foot-tall cage locked in the center of the room. The mesh is wide open. At the bottom of the cage is a massive pile of silver, gold, and gems.
But hanging from the ceiling inside the cage is a giant beehive.
And the room is buzzing with foot-long killer bees.
The killer bees are exceptionally lethal. Their venom is deadly. And even if a character makes their saving throw, the stinger continues to dig into their flesh, causing continuous damage until someone physically extracts it.
It's a terrifying encounter.
Very much so.
But inside that massive hive is a prize far more valuable than the gold. If a party can brave the bees and the queen, the hive contains magical honey that actually heals physical wounds.
The dungeon provides a way to restore hit points, but it hides it behind one of the deadliest hazards on the floor.
Notice how the module ties the ecology together, too. That hobgoblin in room 4 was killed by a bee sting.
Right. The creatures aren't static spawns locked in their specific rooms. They interact with the environment.
Which makes the discovery in rooms 11 and 12 so incredibly jarring for the players.
It's the ultimate twist for this tier.
You've been fighting giant blood-sucking birds, burning green slime off your armor, and dodging foot-long bees. You open the door to room 11, and instead of a monster, you find...
Order.
Yes, order. You find 3 perfectly made double bunk beds, organized equipment. Sitting on the bunks are 5 men in uniform.
They are wearing iron chain mail over blue tunics, steel helmets, and identical golden masks.
Masks depicting a stern, bearded man.
That stern, bearded face with the lightning bolt is Gorm. The players have just stumbled into the outpost of the Brotherhood of Gorm.
So who exactly are they in the context of this ruined society?
Well, when Synodicea fell to madness and the bizarre cult of the tentacled monster Zargon in the lower levels, a few factions formed underground to try and hold on to the old ways.
Oh, they're a remnant.
Yeah. The Brotherhood of Gorn is a militant faction of zealots dedicated to the ancient god of war, storms, and justice.
They believe in justice tempered by mercy.
Right.
Right.
Exactly. They revere lightning storms, and under their armor, every member bears a blue lightning bolt tattoo on their right shoulder.
So what does this all mean for a party of desperate explorers?
It means you don't have to roll initiative.
Thank goodness. If the party shows respect and doesn't attack, the guards will actually escort them into room 12 to meet their leader, Canadius, the Grand Master.
Canadius is a fascinating NPC. He's older, kindly but stern, and wears a fancy helmet along with his golden mask.
And that helmet is a critical magical item.
A helm of telepathy.
Yeah.
When the party negotiates with him, he is secretly reading their minds to verify their intentions.
Which is so smart for a faction leader in a dungeon.
Very smart. And if they prove sincere and agree to join the Brotherhood, the entire dynamic of the dungeon changes.
It's a massive tactical shift.
It really is.
The Brotherhood controls a small, fortified cluster of rooms. If accepted, the party receives the blue tunics and the golden masks.
Suddenly you have a safe area.
Yeah, you can sleep without a wandering monster roll resulting in a giant ferret attack. You actually have access to food and water.
Furthermore, the module rewards faction alignment with environmental bypasses.
Oh, this is my favorite part.
Remember those terrifying killer bees in room 7?
Yeah, the ones guarding the healing honey?
The Brotherhood actually trained them.
They trained them.
If a player walks into the bee room wearing the golden mask of Gorm, the bees won't attack. They recognize the mask.
The party can literally walk right past the deadliest hazard on the floor to harvest the healing honey simply because they engaged with the sociopolitics of the dungeon instead of just their character sheets.
It perfectly synthesizes the experience of the Lost City. The top 2 tiers aren't just a static, dusty tomb.
It is a brilliant, interconnected puzzle.
Survival requires understanding the ecology.
Harvesting beetle glands for light, stealing magical honey for healing.
And it requires navigating the factions, learning the rules of this strange, sealed-off society to leverage it to your advantage.
It rewards players who treat the dungeon as a living, breathing terrarium, rather than just a series of combat encounters.
Definitely.
But before we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a thought to mull over.
Let's hear it.
You've spent this whole time trying to survive this hostile environment, but look at it from the ecosystem's perspective.
Okay.
The Cynodicians, the giant insects, the Brotherhood of Gorm, they have existed in this delicate, sealed balance for centuries without any outside interference.
That's true.
Then you bust in. You kill the apex predators. You loot the biological resources like the fire beetles and the magical honey.
Yeah.
You ally with a militant faction, heavily arming them and tipping the scales of power in a fragile underground society.
Oh, wow.
Ask yourself, as an explorer supposedly bringing the light of the outside world into the dark, are you preserving civilization, or are you actually the invasive species that finally destroys this lost city?
That completely flips the heroic narrative on its head. A fascinating perspective.
Something to think about the next time you kick down a dungeon door. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, and remember, keep questioning the world around you.